All right, time to welcome Mary Holm, and she's our personal finance expert, solving our money problems. And today, the biggest money problem for most of us, debt. Hi, Mary.
Yeah, hi, Jessie. Yeah, awful old debt. And talking again about a survey, we seem to have been talking about surveys a bit lately, but they often come up with quite interesting results. And this one is by One Choice, a New Zealand insurance provider. It's a very wide-ranging survey on debt, but I just pulled out a couple of aspects that I thought were a bit more interesting. And also, if we've got time at the end, to look a bit about money worries leading to people socialising less, which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah.
So when in their sort of headline, in their press release, or soon after the headline, they said, One Choice said nearly 7 in 10 Kiwis carry some form of debt. 42% have credit card debt, 34% have mortgages, and 27% have personal loans. And they also said that about half of Gen Z, which is age 13 to 28, I had to look that up. I've got a bit lost on the generations of you.
I have. Someone said the other day,
Yeah.
someone said to me, Gen Z is... no, I can't remember what the term was. I think they said everyone under 30, but then that's not correct because there's a new one coming through.
Well, this is 13 to 28. Yeah, and it's interesting. You're saying Gen Z, and I still say Gen Z.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure the
generation
RNZ crowd will get in touch to tell us who's right and who's wrong.
yes, indeed. Yeah. So anyway, we've got the younger ones carrying about half of them with student loans. And I thought, well, this headline says nearly 7 in 10 New Zealanders have got debt, and they're lumping in together credit card debt and mortgages and student loans. And I thought, no, just a minute. They're very different.
Yeah.
They're incredibly different. Credit card debt and buy now, pay later debt is not good. Now, buy now, pay later, people will say, no, it's fine, as long as you pay it off in full when you're meant to. There is no interest or other... Well, I don't think there are any other fees on them usually.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but the trouble is quite a lot of people don't pay it off in full. And credit card debt, similarly, if you pay it off on time, it's fine, but if you don't, it can be really awful. Yeah. Whereas mortgages are, usually good debt. They're nearly everybody who buys their first home has to get a loan to do it. And over the years, people's house values rise. I mean, maybe they don't over short periods, but over longer periods they do. So mortgage debt is fine. And student loan debt, I maintain, is really good. I mean, for one thing, you're not paying any interest on it, but so that takes away the bogeyman. But also, people typically are borrowing to go to university or tertiary education, and first of all, increasing their power to earn more money in the long run. But secondly, it's not just financial, it's also just knowing more about life and learning more about how to approach things in a different way from the way you were raised to approach them, and all of that. So student loan debt's fine. I've actually been hearing lately that the IRD's been clamping down a bit on students with student loan debt, former students who have gone overseas, because once you're no longer living in New Zealand, you have to pay interest on the student loan. And so, that's something to keep in mind. I mean, if you go overseas, you should keep up your regular payments on your student loan.
Yeah, mentally, I think a lot of people get on the plane and think, I'm flying away from my problems and my debt.
Yeah, the trouble is they might find it quite hard to get back in. I mean, it's not impossible to imagine people getting questioned on the border coming back in.
Yeah.
Even just coming back in for a holiday at Christmas or something like that.
Or not on the way back in, but then when they try and leave again as well.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly, yes. Yeah, it's just all...
So the IRD are going to turn the volume up on that, are they?
That's what I read, and I think it's overseas people who are overseas and own property that they've also been looking at, because they've been looking at property investors lately, and I think they've been saying, well, by the way, if you're overseas, let's have a look at your student loan as well. I'm not certain about that, but that's something I read. But even if you don't own property in New Zealand, I think, just keep an eye on that one, because it can be nasty. But the survey also got more information on credit cards and buy now, pay later. Notably, about 2/3 of people believe cashless payments increase their impulsive spending. And that's a worry, isn't it?
You're more likely to buy something if you don't hand over the cash, you just wave your plastic.
Yeah, and that's what most of us do most of the time these days. You don't often actually see people pull a $5 bill out of their wallet.
No.
And it is just
It's a big problem for the tooth fairy, I've heard.
Yes. Yeah, gosh, yes, I hadn't thought about that one. But they have to think of something else, lollies or something, but it's not quite the same.
No, Tooth Fairy doesn't want to be giving lollies out, Mary.
No.
I have heard...
Oh, no, good point. Yes. Apples.
I have heard instances of a Tooth Fairy digging out old currency from another country as a special treat for some kids.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Yes, that is interesting.
Whatever cash is to hand. Anyway,
yes,
we already said too much.
Yes, we have. Further information on credit cards is that just over half the people who have credit cards consistently pay their full balance each month.
That's interesting.
It's only just over half, 52%, which is...
Kind of surprised it's that high, to be honest. I mean, that's the way to do it, isn't it? But you have to be pretty organised and pretty on top of your finances.
I was sort of hoping it would be more. But and they also found that 14% admit to never paying off their credit card balance.
Making the minimum payment, maybe?
Yes, presumably that's what that means. And so they are paying interest on it. And as I said earlier, it's often about 20% interest. It's high. So that's not a good look.
Probably a topic for another time, but why didn't credit card interest rates come down when all the other interest rates came down?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think I've complained about that to you before because interest rates came down really low for everything else for a while, and credit cards just kept marching right along at around 18, 19, 20,
so presumably the borrowing costs for the credit card companies would have been much, much lower, but they didn't pass on any of those savings. Yeah.
Yes.
Good time to be a credit card company.
Yeah, it was not a good look, and it's still not a good look. And I really hope that listeners just don't get into credit card debt. Yeah, and if you're in it, please get out of it as fast as you can. And the survey also found about 1 in 3 people are highly concerned about accumulating uncontrollable credit card debt. So people are worried about it, but hopefully that can translate into actually doing something about it rather than just worrying.
What's going on with buy now, pay later? Because that seems like a relatively new phenomenon.
Yes, and I think it's probably, I suspect, young people use it more than older people. Older people like me are used to just
do what you know,
credit
right?
card. Yes, and what's this? I'm not sure about this buy now, pay later thing. Yeah, and it looks a little bit suspiciously good if you don't have to make interest payments or fees. Yeah, you think, oh.
Sort of wonder how they're making their money.
Well, because people do buy stuff they can't find later, they can't really afford to manage to meet the payments. And what the survey found is that in the last 12 months, 60% of the people using buy now, pay later paid it off on time, but that leaves 40% who didn't.
That's high.
It's 40% high, I think, who didn't. 18% said they found it challenging, so presumably that means they still paid it off, but not easily. And 22% failed to pay on time, which is not. Come on, everybody, we can do better than that. And then it said more than half are at least somewhat concerned about accumulating buy now, pay later debt that may get out of control. And that's even higher for the young one. For the millennials who are late 20 to early 40s. So it's not so much the very young ones, it's the others. So once again, we've got people saying, yes, I'm really concerned about it. And I just hope they can look in the mirror and say, okay, what am I going to do about this? Yeah.
Very interesting to find out more, beyond these numbers, find out how other people are living.
Yes. And the stress, it seems like a lot of people are under for financial reasons. And, a lot of it's understandable now with people losing their jobs and finding it really hard to get jobs. And that, of course, makes it harder. And other people who haven't lost their jobs but are worried that they might. And so in the current environment, it's totally understandable and people have my sympathy, but maybe we need people certainly thinking a bit longer term to having a bit of a bigger emergency fund, that kind of thing, because it's just, stress is just horrible for your health, physical and mental. Yeah, it's...
Mary Holm's with me. She's taking us through some numbers in a recent survey by an insurance provider called One Choice. We're looking at different types of debt and how it plays out in New Zealand.
Yeah, and... turning to mortgage debt, predictably, of course, the amount of debt varies widely. 1% had debt of more than $2 million. And I thought, help! Mortgage debt of more than $2 million sounds very scary to me. I was talking to a friend recently who knew a couple who were just going in for a debt of over $1 million. And apparently they're looking at saying that they're both on good incomes and they were going to make one person's income just pay off the mortgage. Just pretend that person hasn't got a job,
right,
and just put all their income into paying down the mortgage. And that's the kind of radical thing you probably have to do if you've got that bigger debt. But the most common range of mortgages is $250,000 to $500,000, so that's somewhat more comfortable, although it's still $500,000, that top number. And the thing that I thought, was that 2 in 5, 40% of people with a mortgage owe $10,000 or more in other debt. And so presumably it's credit card, buy now, pay later, or a personal loan of some sort. And my message to those people is try and concentrate on that. Obviously, you've got to keep making your mortgage payments, but the mortgage will be at a lower interest rate than this other debt, almost certainly, unless it includes student loans, but presumably not. If it includes student loans, that's fine. Don't worry too much about that. You've got, concentrate on the mortgage. But if it's anything where the interest rate's higher than on the mortgage, try and put all your spare money into getting rid of that, because they just killers. Have we got time to have a look at one more aspect of the survey that I thought was quite interesting? They found that socialising is on the decline because of the rise in the cost of living. So 3/4 of New Zealanders have cut back on social spending, with over a third actually making significant reductions in spending on social things. So that would be...
The restaurants are feeling that.
Yes, they are. Yes, and in fact, yes, the survey specifically says that 71% have cut back on dining out. So most people, 57% have cut down on going to cafes, 57% have cut down on weekend getaways, and just over half have cut down on visiting bars or clubs. So,
have you cut down on the club, Mary, since this credit crunch?
It depends what sort of club. And interestingly, I was going to bring that up, clubs, because I heard you on the radio a couple of weeks back talking about clubs with an American woman. I was driving somewhere, and that
Join or Die, the Netflix documentary talking about how the lack of membership in clubs might be driving loneliness and a lack of community and even undermining democracy.
Yes, and it was a really interesting and thought-provoking interview, and it just does seem to me that people don't tend to kind of belong to the local, whether it be sports club or was it you that was talking about Scrabble? And a young kid being in...
that was newsreader Marama. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, there are all kinds of clubs. I actually belong to a local environment group where I live, working on getting rid of pests and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And that's one that you're interested in, I know. There are all kinds of organisations out there, but and they don't tend to cost a lot of money. Whereas obviously socialising at restaurants and so on does, and weekend getaways do cost a lot of money.
I mean, your local environment club, that's awesome, Mary. I wasn't really what I was going for. I was thinking maybe, your 20s, you're in Chicago, your nightclubbing days, Mary.
I know. I thought you were aiming at that, Jesse, because when they say
some stories,
when they say visiting bars or clubs, yes, and
I'm not talking about setting rat traps.
But rat traps are so much more fun. No,
okay, I can see I'm not going to get any stories today. Thank you.
Well, Chicago had its blues and its jazz clubs and all that, but I can't say I went a lot to those. And the point is that people are cutting down on things that cost a lot, and the survey people said New Zealand's cafe and restaurant scene has reported to have shrunk for the first time in more than 20 years in 2024.
Yeah, they're feeling it too.
So, yeah, I mean, we've kind of been hearing ever since COVID that cafes and restaurants and that are hurting, but that was the first year that the total spend went down. It was in 2024 apparently, and it's up to people to decide whether they want to spend money on that or. There is a heck of a lot of things you can do that don't cost any money at all, socialising. Now, one thing that you said in that interview a few weeks back was talking about picnics. I think there was a mention of picnics, and I thought, you just don't see people, spreading out the rug and putting the sandwiches in.
More's the pity,
and that's such a nice thing to do. And summer or winter, if you get a reasonable day.
You know what I think the problem is? No one's marketing picnics. No one's saying go on a picnic this weekend.
Because
Here's
there's
some
not
picnic
big
ideas.
bucks in there.
Exactly.
Yes. But there could be, I suppose, people pre-packing a picnic for you and making some money out of that. But the point is, listeners don't have to be told by advertising or marketing what to do.
But you don't have that reminder.
No, that's right.
Like you do with buying a new dress or going to the movies or getting a takeaway coffee. You just don't have the message pushed on you.
No. But maybe this coming weekend, if you're thinking, I'd like to catch up with such and such a friend, and we normally have a lunch in a cafe, we could instead just you bring the sandwiches and I'll bring the fruit sort of thing, and meet at the beach. And the trouble is the cafe industry's going to hurt. But, at the same time, a lot of industries are hurt by a lot of trends, and that's what's going on. As far as listeners go, there are ways, or just going to the beach with a friend, just going for a walk with a friend. I've noticed when I walk with someone side by side, you sometimes get into a kind of closer conversation than when you're looking face to face.
100%.
Yeah.
My wife and I do our best chatting, walking next to each other, yeah.
I don't know whether it's because it's harder to say something really hard to say when you're looking at someone. Yeah. I wonder about that sometimes. I think there are times in my life when I thought I really need to say something to this person, and it's hard to say, and it's easier when you're walking side by side.
Totally agree. Thank you.
That's a sort of interesting
You do
point.
get a little bit of philosophical and life advice in the Mary Holm Money segment, I'll say, from time to time. I always look forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all mixed in.
Yes. Is there time for any more on this, or will we run out of time?
Always make time for you, Mary.
Jessie. Just one last point from the survey, that when they looked at the younger generations, 90% of Generation Z and 82% of the millennials feel more socially isolated, or that they're missing out on important experiences because of financial constraints. And so that's the vast majority of them are feeling like they're more socially isolated and they're missing out on experiences.
Get off your phones, guys.
Yes.
That's my advice.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not the money.
No, it doesn't need to be the money, is the point. Women have reduced their social spending more than men too, which is a pity. I mean, you see so much about how important socialising is to your mental health, apart from anything else. So we don't want people socialising less. We just want them to perhaps spend a bit less on it.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you, Mary.
It's a pleasure, Jesse.
Mary Holm, our personal finance expert, taking us through some numbers about how Kiwis are living their lives, particularly around debt and the impacts of financial stresses on socialising.